Welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at the brand new QSP Vault. This is a Jacob Lundquist design, and you may know Jacob Lundquist from his Kaiser Veritas. Pretty similar in aesthetics, definitely are some differences, a lot cheaper. And also you might know him from his Variant PE, another design he did with QSP. And I've reviewed a few other of his knives on the channel, and so far I've liked pretty much everything that he's come out with. This one really caught my attention whenever he showed it on his Instagram. I knew I wanted to check it out. And what we have here is a medium to large EDC knife at 7.5 inches with a 3.25 inch drop point blade of 14C 28-inch steel. That's his maker's mark right there, or something he puts on all his knives. The 14C is hardened to 59 to 61 HRC, and over the last couple of years, all the knives I've tested from QSP have really performed really well. So a lot of times it seems like they're on their upper end, maybe closer to 60. So we'll check that out in a second. We have some jimping that is functional. It does its job up here. You do have a oversized sharpening choil that'll give you a ton of sharpening life. Where my fingernail is right there is how far you can go before it'll start to widen up. So tons of sharpening life. My particular one has a high satin finish on the primary, and then on the flats you have a stone wash finish. I think it looks nice. If you don't like the satin finish, they also have the same variation in a black wash blade with black bolsters. And then there's 3 different scale materials. You can get it in this natural color. You can get it in green, I think, and black as well. And then all those colors have the either satin or black wash blade. This is a flat grind here that comes down nice and thin at around 16 thousandths behind the edge. Let's see what it can do. Boy, I'm always glad whenever a knife comes sharp out of box. There's nothing worse when I get some of these knives that are close to dull. This one has a outstanding edge on it. Now, maybe they handpicked this one. I don't know, since they sent this to me. But it's slicing very well. It's got good edge geometry. That satin finish is going to help it glide through materials that are more dense. And now we're going to test the ergos on this piece of pine. Starting out light just to show that it's got good fine edge to it still left, and it's peeling it like an apple. Very nicely done there. And once we lift it up, we're going to start putting a lot more pressure into it, and all the way till the very end. I did kind of feel the tabs on the crossbar lock, but I mean, I was really bearing down, and I already had a blister on my hand from doing the rope cutting portion, so I'm not really holding against it. But here is where I got a big smile on my face. See how I started off with that pointer finger grip? That's because this thing is very sharp and very toothy. One thing I love about 14C is it can take an incredible edge, and it holds it for a good amount of time. Not to mention it's very easy to strop back and very easy to sharpen as well. I love the type of edges I can get with 14C. I think some of the sharpest knives I've ever gotten was from a 14C knife. That or K390. But as far as budget steels, 14C is the sharpest I've ever gotten a knife. Yeah, because of that belly, it's making this very easy. I'm basically doing push cuts for the majority of it, maybe a little bit of rocking motion cuts. Not too much sawing motion cuts because I don't really have to. It's cutting it cleanly this way. And we end up getting through 120 cuts with this piece I cut. Yeah, it wasn't slowing down either. Very nice job. Let's hope it continues in the last portion. Very good. You can use that tip if you want, but you are going to have to come up a little bit higher. It's probably easier just to use that belly to do drag cuts like that. And I'm going to tell you right now, none of this material gave it any trouble. It blasted through everything. And this is where that satin finish helps, because if it has a rough finish, it usually binds up on this corner cardboard and the tubing. But outstanding job. Still super sharp. And then we get to the 10-ounce denim, and of course this was no match for it either. And I couldn't have been happier with the way this one performed. This knife is definitely a contender for the best budget knife under $100 of 2024, no doubt about it. Let's check that edge out. It still feels pretty darn good. That's what I thought. Definitely should be able to drop it back to where it was almost, or close to it. That's why I like 14C. Besides the aesthetics of this knife, the first thing that really caught my attention was the action and how well tuned this crossbar lock is. They're calling it their glide lock, and I mean nice and snappy and then super smooth out of box. You can't ask for much more. And look, I can shake it out, but if I do that to a Benchmade, it's coming out. Definitely did an excellent job of dialing in the tension on those Omega springs. You have dual thumb studs that are easily accessible on both sides, and being that you have the crossbar lock, it's going to be completely ambidextrous, especially since you can flip this clip around. Now let's take a look at the handle area. You have nice contoured scales, aluminum bolsters. This particular one is like a silver finish on the bolsters. It's hard anodized. Up close, it almost has like an orange peel texture on it. I think it looks nice. It is pretty slick. However, the micarta offers the traction you need. Did a good job here. The transition, there's no high spots that I feel, no super big gap or anything. And then you have your stainless steel liners underneath. Your pivot is a Torx T8. Unfortunately, they went with T6 on the cover screws and on the pocket clip screws. Not the end of the world, but it would have been nice to have T8 throughout. And I really like how he does this pocket clip. It goes to the end right here, so it sits all the way flush with the pocket. There is enough ramp to fit my jeans. Now, if you have super thick jeans, it may be a little hard to get underneath there, but it goes in and out of my pockets nicely and completely buries in the pocket. And you have that little cutout on this side so you can easily flip it around if you're a lefty. You do have a small little back spacer that houses the screw for the pocket clip, and the inside of the stainless steel liners have been skeletonized to bring down the weight as much as possible, bringing your weight to 114.9 grams or 4.05 ounces. There's your balance point. It's a little bit behind the choil, but not bad. It still feels nice and light and nimble in the hand. I like how they put these little pads there for the crossbar lock. I find it to be a lot more comfortable than your traditional axis lock. As you can see, it's hooked to that little bar. Pull that back. So it's basically the same thing, except they're using these little tabs. And then you have stop pin back here and back here. So in the open and closed position, stop pin. Now I did this off camera too, but I'll do it again here just to show you. Super sturdy. I did it pretty darn hard off camera, and that was pretty darn hard as well. Centering on mine is right down the pipe, perfect. And you got pretty good blade to handle ratio. You got maybe a little bit more you could have put in there, but you don't have to worry about it coming in contact in that closed position. And when it's closed, I'm not going to touch it in this position either. The lockup. No up and down. This thing's got a very, very tight lockup. I can flex side to side, but no movement in those washers at all. Very nice and tight lockup. Quick size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And it's a little bit shorter than the Civivi SoCoke, and it's about identical to the Miguran Mayoral. It's also very similar to the Volsteed Nightshade and the Volsteed Raccoon. It is a hair longer than the Kaiser Veritas, and it's a good bit bigger than the QSP Variant PE. Now for my nitpicks and complaints, I think they could have made this a little bit grippier, maybe a little bit closer, or come out a little bit further. But it's still functional, so not something I really care about, but I know some people love their jimping on their folders. And also, I would love to see T8 hardware throughout. I don't love the pocket clip as far as aesthetics go, but it functions really well, so I'm perfectly fine with it. And overall, my final thoughts at $86. Do I think it's worth it? No doubt about it. I absolutely love it. One of the best crossbar lock actions I've handled in a while. It performed outstanding. It's comfortable. I think it looks nice. And I think you're definitely getting your money's worth here. If you are interested in this knife, I will have it linked down below. And if you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me as well down below. And I will see y'all on the next one. Peace!